Welcome back to the Cheer for Peace Expo. Today we're talking about a movement that are going around all over the world. I have with me Duncan and Paloma.
Hi.
And back here, you guys can see Juan Del Rio. Juan is straight from Barcelona to talk with us. Welcome, Juan.
Hi, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
So Juan's going to be talking today about Barcelona being sustainable and how is things going on over there. How is this idea of social movements making maybe the crisis not being that impactful in the community in a negative way. Duncan is going to be pulling then a couple of questions, and we're going to have just an informal talk to try to understand your reality, Juan. Welcome.
Well, the truth is that I can't really understand you too much what you are saying because the sound is pretty bad.
Okay, so I can
don't
talk
worry.
maybe a little bit closer. What I just said is
That's much perfect.
Yeah, Duncan is gonna have a chat with you about how is Barcelona at the moment. Is there a lot of social movements going on? Whatever you are involved, if you want to share a little bit with us of your experience as a sustainable Barcelona movement involved.
Yeah. Perfect. That's perfect, Paloma. Okay, well, so as I've said just before, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to, even though it's through the screen, to see you again, Dank. Many adventures together. Well, I guess that in the last days you have already talked a lot about sustainability, both in rural and in urban context. And I know that you have already been talking a little bit about Barcelona with Ricard, also a good friend. So you have already seen a little bit that that the Spanish context at the moment is pretty difficult. There's a lot of unemployment. There's kind of despair on the people. So it's pretty difficult. There's a lot of different initiatives sprouting around, like spreading. It's not easy to follow all of them, but I've been since last, let's say, 7 years involved in different social movements in Spain and all over, in Barcelona and all over Spain. Regarding, for example, the transition towns movement, which is one of ones that I've been more involved, in Spain at the moment, there's around 50 different initiatives. There's initiatives in cities like Barcelona, for example, but also like Granada, like Sevilla, Albacete, etc. But also initiatives in universities, like the University of Santiago de Compostela, and also in islands like Menorca, Lanzarote, many different places. The interesting of this process, the transition process, is that it's a need, and it's unavoidable. It's something that even if we don't want, it's going to happen. But it's something that it can be. It's like a beautiful challenge, and it's something that that is happening around us. So what I want you to understand is that even though during these days many people have been talking to you about change, permaculture, transition, etc., and for you maybe it's not so easy to see that this is happening around you. Really. Indeed, Duncan, maybe you don't know, but since 6 months ago, I'm not living in Barcelona.
Okay.
I'm living close to it, but I'm living in a little town called Cardedeu. And I don't know, I feel like to talk a little bit about this little town.
Uh-huh.
In Cardedeu, we have, for example, prosumer group, which means that there's local producers that they use permaculture as a principle, not just ecological permaculture. There's a very interesting project called the Biosfera, which is a reskilling school. This is like self-sufficiency school where more than 30 different teachers from the village. This is a little town of about 10,000 people, okay? Kind of a top mess that I guess that you haven't really been talking in the last days. So in that school, more than 1,000 people from different places have already been studying. And there's courses about, of course, gardening, but also about how to make bread, cheese, or how to, plenty of practical stuff, okay? How to make buy a building, or also trainings about working in a group, like I've been working with. So social movements, they are, they are. I would say that they're almost everywhere in different scales, of course. If I'm telling you this about this village where I'm living, yeah. Okay. Let's say, yeah. Have you? I don't know if you have told this experience in Liverpool, for example, in that conference, that international conference. So, well, the 15M movement that has been very interesting is related with the political party Podemos, for example, and others like ECO or YM, that is a local political party in Barcelona. And right now, there's a data statistics that appeared the last week that they say that from 18 years old, since you can till 50 years old, the most voted political party, it could be Podemos, and Podemos, it's somehow the from that 15M process, social explosion that happened in 2011 on the squares. Of course, you remember what happened with Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, etc. So that was partly a reaction after the you're still in this bubble, like economically growing, of course, decreasing in many other things, like big media, but still, we have seen, that people, they weren't happy at all. So some of the learnings of that we can give you from Barcelona, Spain, are that you have to be ready for the, when this bubble will break, because it's going to break. Okay? So I don't know Curitiba. I've never been there. In Brazil, Duncan. I will visit you at some point. But I think that you have really to take profit of the situation you have now to get ready for what it can come next. Because much more economical resources than us. Experience you are promoting now, I think it's very interesting. We need to take these ideas to bring to Spain. Because to use all those platforms in the internet that we can use now to do all those experiments with people from all over the world.
Oh, there's a second. The connection is after gone. We're just having a problem with the connection again, so.
I'm gonna turn off our video. Is that okay?
Okay, so Paloma's going to turn off our video in the hope that it improves the connection.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just we had a problem hearing you just.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me better?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I don't know if you if you have any question or if you're curious about something that is going on, because there's many things happening. And it's not, I don't know, maybe I'm just not saying something that it can be interesting to you.
No,
So,
Paloma, have you any questions?
No.
No? Okay.
okay.
Well, one of the things to the permaculture of social interaction, about how working together and the dynamics of working with people is really the key to so many projects. When we see projects that break down, at all the different levels. So I'm just wondering, I personally, I think that there's a richness there in the Spanish model that I understand, in this level of people working with each other and creating processes and creating spaces and mechanisms for how
And this book, I've been interviewing people from many different initiatives around Spain. And it has been very interesting to understand the process of those initiatives, transition initiatives, but also the growth initiatives and local core initiatives, etc. And what I've seen, and also what I'm experiencing in the local the housing, but the food, the money, etc. For example, in Sevilla, in a neighborhood called Pumarejo, there's a local coin. And this is a very good example in the sense that through the need of the basic things like food, etc., and with a tool like a local coin, you are building a space where people can start and at the same time to see which are the resources that we have. Of course, there's not many money circulating, but there's a lot of people that they are unemployed, so they do have, like their time and effort, and we have a lot of creativity, and of course we have also space. I think they can be the two most important ways to bring new people to the social movement. And well, just in Barcelona, just for you to realize, there's more than 100 consumer cooperatives. This is massive. This means, and there's the limitation is not right now the consumers, is that many people want to start new consumer groups, but they can't right now because there's not enough local producers. So there's many we are, like every society, absolutely dependent on oil and other fossil fuels. Spain, for example, doesn't produce oil at all. So it's all the time importing from many other places. So the dependence is complete. We have in local projects to grow. But there's a cooperative that first it was just distributor, but for now it's also the producer of mineral energy that is really growing a lot in Spain with local groups in many different places, in different cities, etc., which is called Some Energia. And it can be also like a very interesting example, something that is happening right now in Spain. So as you can see in economy, which I've explained you the example of Pumarejo in Sevilla, but there's more than 80 local currencies in Spain right now, and more than and it's impossible to say what's going to happen next, but this is like kind of a effervescent moment.
Yeah. But it's strange times, but very interesting and exciting times.
Yeah, I think
that it's because it's important to, like, we're here in Curitiba. Not all, like there are some things already here, some very strong things that exist in Curitiba, but a lot of the things we've been talking about over these 2 weeks, to a lot of people it feels quite new. So it's important to always stress to people or to remind people that, you know, it's yes, what we're talking about are, you know, responses to possible bad case scenarios that are coming, but also that there's the other side, that these processes are ways to further develop community, to further allow for greater connection between our neighbours, for celebration together. So that there's lots of very positive reasons for this. Like when we looked at some of the films from the transition groups, you know, when we see the experiences from the transition streets in England, for example, we see so much of it is about getting to know my neighbours, celebration, parties, and only a small bit is, you know, economy, peak oil, etc., etc. So that's very important. Another thing I'd like to ask you, Juan, is in your town where you're living now, is the vast majority of the people who live there participating in these movements? Is it only a small fraction of the town's community that participate? And how are local people, are they receptive to new people coming with their new ideas?
Okay. So, I mean, it's not always easy to quantify the amount of people, but is a town pretty active. This doesn't mean that the 50% of the people is part of the social movement, but a lot of them what I didn't say before, but of course there's also a transition initiative working there, and something very beautiful, very nice, that is helping a lot to build this community. Is that all those different projects that I mentioned before, they are connected and they are working together. Well, there's many people because it's not very far from Barcelona, it's just 40 minutes from Barcelona by train. So there's many different people from the city that, because they just really feel that need and to be in a place more connected to nature, but also a very alive place with a lot of folks. They come to Cardedeu, to this city, to this town, and everyone, at least in my opinion, and in my case, and what I've seen, is being well accepted in the town. Well, something that is happening in Catalunya, that is part of the reality that we are living now. It has to be with this identity feeling of Catalonia, with independence, etc. So this kind of mix with many different things right now. Well, I think that what everyone needs to realize is that the world is changing, and we have give you some little information about what's happening in Spain, and I don't know too much about Cuba, but I'm sure there's so many beautiful and interesting things you can learn about it.
Another thing, Juan, I'd like to ask you about, because we've known each other for a long time and participated in lots of different things and had some great times, and that's been brilliant, and I hope in the future we'll keep on having these discussions and events. But the idea of the role where politics fits into this, and different people have different views about politics. It's interesting that I think last month in the transition blog, that there was the exploration of transition and politics and the role or how they interact with each other. Like you mentioned earlier on, the explosion of the 15M, the 15M movement, and the indignados and the squares, and taking politics to the streets. In the transition towns in the kind of early days, there was the different steps, and one of those was the idea of taking politics back towards the more local political level. And now that you've moved from the big city to the smaller town, I'm wondering how the political interaction is happening. Like, is the municipality open to suggestions coming from the transition group or the other groups that are working in the community? Are some people involved in those groups also involved within the political system? I also know, for example, Barcelona and Catalunya is a very strong anarchist world as well, where some people feel that they're not going to participate with the official representation channel. So I think personally, Barcelona and Catalunya is a very rich political history that gives a lot of power, I suppose, to the political movement. So I'm just wondering, at the more local level where you are now, how that's working out for you.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. Well, I think that right now, because we have been, talking about politics, but not about the political parties, because politics is something much bigger. But I mean, as human, we react in a politic way, let's say. But talking about formal politics or official politics, we have been, with like in many different countries, with the two biggest political parties, and in Barcelona maybe one or two more, they are like big political nationalistic parties. But right now the people is starting to look for other options. And into the local level, in the place I'm living now, one of the members of our transition initiative is not part of the government, of the local government, but is involved into the city hall. And the next year they're going to be the municipal elections, and we really don't know what's going to happen. But everyone says that that is going to be like much less conservative. In my opinion, the politicians, and much more in the local level, because if we talk about big cities or the national government, is different. But at the end, the politicians in the local level, in the little town, they are people, and it's very important to build bridges with the institutions if we really want to work into the town. And I think they really are waiting for proposals from the people, because they tend to act much more in a reactive way than in a proactive way. So if we go to talk to them, but not with the idea of saying you are doing this bad or criticize them, but more in a constructive and proactive way, not asking to them for money, but maybe saying, we are doing this, we have this project, would you like to collaborate with this? I think this can help the community, the village, the town. I think this is the way to do it. And in this book I was explaining before, there's many different cases around Spain that they are working like this. There's a very interesting case in Extremadura, in Cáceres. This is a town called Carcamoso. And there were people that they were in different social movements, but this is a town of 2,000 people, okay, it's very small. And they decided to present themselves to the elections, and they won. And they are doing really a lot of projects around agroecology, for example. So right now, their town is a town without I don't know the word now. With GMO, modified seeds, is a town inside the transition movement, also inside the slow movement. They have built a place to teach the people around ecological agriculture and for help them to build local food enterprises. And this is something that has been happening thanks to the city hall, to the local institutions. So it's becoming like a great example that many of the towns they are looking at, because what everyone needs is to have like these like good examples to see, okay, this is working, so we can experiment this. People have somehow fear to start with new things, so we have like this need of the examples. No? I think for the transition, for the change, for the social transformation we are living in, somehow we need to build bridges among the different stakeholders, and this is one of the big challenges, because within this old paradigm that is changing, always we have been like thinking more in an individual way, the competition, etc. But it's not going to work anymore, and we have to be aware of this.
Yeah.
So this maybe is like one of the key ideas I would like to share with you, and maybe a good point to more or less start to finish the conversation, because we really need to start building bridges on other sides, the people and the different organizations.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can finish up on that note because we're running beyond our limit here. But I think the idea of building bridges is very important, and not just at the one scale, but bridges everywhere, and experimenting with the different bridges that we can build. So there locally with your local within the local political representatives that are there, one thing, but also like learning from Extremadura and also from here. I think it'd be very interesting to organise a discussion in the future between what your guys doing over there and also what's been done here in recent months with the bike activist groups here in the city. They've had some very interesting discussions with the local council, with the mayor. There's a lot of interesting things starting to happen. A lot of movements are growing very quickly. So I think that would be a very fruitful discussion for you guys to have. So maybe that's something we could look at doing in the future, trying to enable that discussion, because I'd love to keep these going on. These 2 weeks has just been a short moment to allow for little ideas and little different projects to to connect. So then the next step is moving beyond that, okay? So I thank you again for your time. Always good to talk to you. We'll have more adventures, more más cervezas también. Cerveja también, cervezas también. So I wish you the best, and we'll be in contact again, okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of you. It has been a pleasure, and of course we are here connected. That's key.
Exactly, and learning from each other the whole time.